Mike Brooks, HLN law enforcement analyst, what's the likelihood that two serial killers just, by coincidence, are using the same dumping ground? Two serial killers that also target prostitutes.
Well, Jane, Joel Rifkin goes back to the 90s, to the early to mid 90s, and they're saying that at least the remains had plant growth growing up through the remains that they found. So, and those remains were apparently right off the highway. And that was kind of Joel Rifkin's MO, if you will. But early on, they said that they thought it was a single person. But you can't rule anything out here, Jane, until you find out who the identity of all these remains belong to.
All right, Joyce, Ohio, your question or thought, ma'am?
Jane?
Hi.
Oh, my God, Jane Velez Mitchell. I watch you every night.
Well, I'm so glad you do. And what's your question or thought, Joyce?
Okay, I want to know, when these ladies first started missing last year summer, but wasn't it, I believe I heard like last year summer 4 ladies were ended up missing, I believe they're prostitutes.
Well, they've gone missing at different times. One woman was missing in June. One woman was missing in September. One woman was missing last May. And in fact, let's go to that case in May, right before prostitute Shannon Gilbert went missing in this very same area of Long Island last May. One resident said she actually ran up to his door and begged him for help. He immediately calls 911. Cops get there 45 minutes later, but at that point, she's gone. And he's complaining now that they didn't question him about that incident until 4 months later. Here's what cops had to say about that apparent delay today.
I have no idea when the detective spoke to whomever you were talking about.
Debra Opri, criminal defense, had no idea. I mean, this is obviously the linchpin, this woman who disappeared, who's a prostitute, who's running around in May screaming, help me, and disappears before cops get there. How could he have no idea what this question is about?
Well, it's shoddy and irresponsible. My opinion, however, is that we've got to do something in a regulatory way with Craigslist. These girls cannot get out there and do this because women's rights are becoming women's victims to these situations.
What are you talking about? Seriously, I love you, Deborah, but what are you talking about, women's rights?
No, listen to me. Listen, women's rights here are to protect themselves. No, Jane. Women have got to protect themselves. They have a right for that protection. And we should do regulatory actions here to stop Craigslist from allowing this kind of advertisement. This is a long stretch of beach. It's a big dumping ground. You think there's only one killer out there? This is becoming a feeding ground for people with criminal conduct and intent. And these women are setting themselves up as targets. The police should have actually been out there within hours. 4-month delays, it's ridiculous. And that woman who went banging on that man's door for help, what did he do? Did he leave her outside? Did he bring her in?
No, I'll tell you exactly what happened. And Mike Brooks, you know about this. This Shannon Gilbert ran up to this guy's house and said, help me. They're after me. He went to call cops, and while he did, she went and hid underneath like a boat that was upside down, and this guy pulls up in a car and says, or a Jeep, and says, I'm looking for a girl who left the party upset. And he said, I called the cops. And he said, you shouldn't have done that. And then she runs off. He follows her, and she's never seen again. So that man who was in that Jeep, couldn't he be the serial killer?
Could very well. I mean,
Sure.
where do you start? And I would start with a guy who was in that Jeep. But we haven't seen any composite of what this guy looked like. At least I haven't seen it. So did they not go back to this guy and try to do some kind of composite drawing of what this guy in the vehicle looked like? And then your comments about the delay and them going back to follow up. I agree. It's shoddy police work, and it shouldn't have happened. They should have been out there. An investigator should have been out there the next day when they couldn't locate Shannon Gilbert.
And I'll say I agree with Debra Opri that they shouldn't. That prostitutes shouldn't be using Craigslist. There's been a warning out to prostitutes up and down the East Coast. Don't be prostitutes right now.
Jane, you're right. If you put it out there that every woman watching your show tonight, stay off of Craigslist. Don't advertise and go into hiding, because I'll tell you something, you're setting yourself up for a kill, because this guy is just getting emboldened by the media coverage of this, and it's a tragedy waiting to happen again and again and again.
All right, John?
That's not going to happen.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, this happens every day, unfortunately, that missing person cases don't get investigated as aggressively as they could. And I'm a big supporter of law enforcement, as you know, but hindsight's always 20/20. So it's absolutely a shame that somebody didn't get out there quicker.
Do something with Craigslist.
And yeah, do not go on Craigslist as a prostitute. Because this guy is very likely still operating. The killing spree could be in progress right now. Thank you, fantastic panel.